a vigil service here for the victims of the Old National Bank shooting on Monday. We had more than a dozen speakers and well over 1,000 people. I'm sure the Ali Center people will give us an estimate here. It might have been approaching a couple thousand people here, and cameras from networks all over the country and around our area, Hayden. It was touching. I thought the governor really said it best maybe when he said, "I'm not angry, I'm empty." He knew Tommy Elliott. He said, "I believe in a loving God. The soul is eternal. I believe in heaven. We will see all these incredible people again." It was a message of hope that we heard from the Archbishop of the Louisville Archdiocese.
I was actually going to say a quote that the Archbishop shared that really kind of stuck with me, Scott. Born of the language of grief and suffering is the language of hope and promise. Thank you so much. We're live on the air. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that, ma'am. No worries. Thank you.
And it's going to take time. The Archbishop said that. You know, it's a process. It could be weeks, it could be months, even longer for some people.
Yes.
But right now it is that grief that really is encapsulating this city.
It was very, very emotional here. So many people just completely moved to tears, hugging one another, finding comfort in one another. At several moments, let's be transparent, Scott, you and I were really, really moved out here today just to hear the pain in some of these speakers' voices, to look around and see the pain and the hurt on the faces of so many of our fellow Louisvillians here. It was very tough, but in a way you can feel that the healing has really started to begin.
And it's really this conflicting feeling of why are we dealing with this in our city and how much pain it's causing on the other side, seeing all these people coming together, because there will always be tragedy in life of so many different kinds. And this one we didn't want, but we're going through it. And so many here are leaning on each other. And one of the speakers talked about making sure that these families feel that love forever, not just the next days or weeks.
It is so important. And WDRB's Christy Batista has also been out here throughout the duration of this vigil. And Christy, we're just wondering, what are your main takeaways from what you heard and saw here this evening?
Well, you know, you mentioned the emotion. I looked to my left, I looked to my right. So many tears were shed. So many people, though, were coming together. They were hugging. And the main takeaway today is to mourn. But today, moving forward, is also meant to be loving. We should be loving each other. And that is one of the main things that was echoed tonight. Ask everyone, ask each other, how are you doing? Don't be afraid to be honest about how you're doing, because although this is directly affecting many families, it is really affecting the whole community. If you're caring for someone else, make sure that you care for yourself. A round of applause a lot when the officers' names were mentioned. Those officers who went into danger to save more lives. Another round of applause when Governor Beshear mentioned Officer Wilt's name, and for Officer Galloway and their heroic efforts on Monday. More applause for the doctors, more heroes, the doctors at U of L Health. Because of their work, another person was released from the hospital today. What we need right now, after all the hate that came out on Monday, is love.
Let's continue to lean on and support each other in this moment of mourning and remembering, and in all of our days ahead.
What we need right now, in one word, is love. In a world where we hear a lot of arguments, a lot of anger, where people try to appeal to hatred and division, how about just love? Love for one another, love for even those we disagree with, answering words of anger with words of love. One responsibility that I know I have is to focus and lift up my friend Tommy and his family, and the families and loved ones of Josh, Juliana, Jim, Deanna. Love, compassion, humility, empathy. They've got to be able to lead us to a better place.
And now a lot of people, there were hundreds of people here, but if you didn't make it tonight and you are still looking for a way to maybe help some of these victims. There have been a lot of fundraisers that have been set up in these victims' names. There's a fundraiser set up in Officer Wilt's name as well. But another thing that was mentioned today, you can give blood. If there's no monetary thing that you can do, you can give your blood. More than 170 units were used by U of L doctors on Monday because of this tragedy. Hayden, Scott.
And they're also handing out these strength and prayer cards to
Yep.
fill out to leave messages for those